What is the cost of silence in the face of injustice? Imagine all of us are silent. We are silent in the face of injustice. What is the consequence? And the third question is, how can each of us become intentional agents of change? So these are the three questions. If you are moved to answer any of them, the chat room is open for anyone to answer. Why does discrimination still exist today? What is the cost of silence in the face of injustice? And the third one is, how can each of us become intentional agents of change? So I'm just giving this moment of reflection so that as we start listening to our guests, this will actually serve as a kicker to everyone that is joining. And we're happy that if you're listening to me, please kindly give your own contribution regarding any of the three questions. Why do you think discrimination persists today? It may not be a long sentence. In just 1 or 2 words, just drop your feedback in the chat room and we're going to read it at some point on the program. And what is the cost of silence in the face of injustice? And how can each of us become agents, intentional agents of change? Post your chat. Please post your comments in the chat. And as Dr. Nikki says, this is an interactive session because your voice matters. Please kindly drop your comments in the chat room. Thank you, Molly Caroline. We are glad that you're joining us from Cameroon. We now move to the core of today's program, but please kindly drop your comments in the feedback section, section, which is the chat room. We now move to the core of today's program, and this is about hearing from our distinguished global speakers, each of them bringing powerful insights, lived experiences, and of course, actionable solutions. So I'm being told to drop the question in the chat room. If someone can actually help me to just type quickly. Tina, if you can quickly just help me type these questions again. Why discrimination persists today? Why does discrimination still persist today? And then the second one is, what is the cost of silence in the face of injustice? I'm just typing. And the third one is, how can we become intentional agents of change? Intentional agents of change. The word intentional is very, very strategic because we are not doing it we are not doing lip service. We are definitely doing something that is actionable. And thank you, Lydia. Lydia says discrimination, corruption, awareness. So she's just answered the three questions. So awareness in terms of how each of us can become intentional agents of change. I've just dropped the three questions so you can pick it up and then you answer at your convenience. And just to queue up with our line of speakers we have today, great experts. Each of them are going to bring some insights and lived experience and actionable solutions to today's conversation. And without a waste of time, let me have this honor to introduce our first speaker. Each of them is going to speak to us for a maximum of 10 minutes, so that we can have a lot of time for interactions. So the first speaker, it is my honor to actually introduce Ms. Meena Mishra, who is an award-winning educator, author, editor, publisher, and social worker devoted to empowering learners through education and literature. She is a recipient of the prestigious Cambridge Dedicated Teacher Awards, and her work has been featured by the Times of India. She is the founder of the Young Birds Project, offering free publishing opportunities to young writers worldwide. She is also associated with SSC Edu Warriors, where she teaches underprivileged children. An accomplished literary figure, she's also the author of 8 books and editor of 8 more, and with contributions to over 400 books. Congratulations, Ms. Mina. Her short story, Pindarush, won the first prize from the Asian Literary Society. Today, in the next 10 minutes, Ms. Mina is going to speak to us on break barriers, build equality. Thank you, Ms. Mina. The floor is yours. Our host, kindly unmute Ms. Mina so she can be able to unmute herself.
Speak, yeah.
Okay, Ms. Mina, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you so much for such a wonderful introduction. Thanks, Atan. And I would like to thank Dr. Nikki Depina for giving us this platform and this opportunity to speak in front of everyone. And Global Peace Let's Talk has been doing a wonderful job. So, first of all, congratulations to all the people over here. So, my today's topic is break barriers, build equality. And on this Zero Discrimination Day, this is what I want to talk about. There are certain things that I want to talk about today. And yeah, this is Zero Discrimination Day that we are celebrating. And my topic for today, there are some pointers that I have in mind. Number one is meaning of Zero Discrimination Day. So, what exactly is Zero Discrimination Day that I'm going to talk about? Then I would like to talk about types of discrimination. Third thing I want to talk about. Thank you so much, Dr. Nikki, for having me here. Effects on society, the role of youth and school. The second last topic I want to talk about is activities and discussion. And then we have the equality pledge towards the end. I would like everyone. So, this is the session overview that I was talking about. Then we are going to the next slide now. What is Zero Discrimination Day? So, what is it and when is it observed? So, today we are privileged to be here, to be provided a platform by Global Peace Let's Talk to observe this at such a grand scale on an international platform. So, thank you, Global Peace Let's Talk, for keeping it the first March and observing it here with all of us. What does it do actually? Zero Discrimination Day? It promotes equality and inclusion. Now, the very beginning, our host has already put 3 questions in front of us that says if we don't speak up, what will happen? So, when Zero Discrimination Day talks about promoting equality and inclusion, yes, if we don't speak, this inclusion is not going to happen. And why is inclusion necessary? Because God has made all of us different. We are born in different houses, different countries, different races. We have different colors. And it's important that we all feel included as one family. Third thing is that it respects human dignity. What is human dignity? I'm short, I'm tall, I'm dark, I'm fair, I'm rich, I'm poor, I'm higher class, I'm lower class. Whatever, irrespective of all these things, I do have my own self respect, and everyone around should respect me as I am. So, this is what Zero Discrimination Day talks about, that every individual deserves respect. Next slide that I want to talk about is what is discrimination? So, when we talk about discrimination, it is unfair treatment of people. Now, what is unfair treatment? Unfair treatment is something that makes another person uncomfortable. Unfair treatment is something that takes away the comfort level, the pride, the self respect, and self esteem of a person. Each time a person is treated in an unfair manner, the person loses his self esteem. Second point is judging without knowing. You don't need to know the background of a person. You do not need to know how intelligent the person is. You do not need to know the financial condition of a person. But what you have to do is you have to be non judgmental. Don't judge. The third point is excluding or insulting others. Each time you insult someone, each time you put someone out, each time a person feels left out because of you, this is discrimination. Fourth point is based on identity and not ability. Whichever strata of society a person belongs to, he has his own identity. He has his own ability. You cannot employ people simply because they belong to a particular race, a particular clan, just because they speak a particular language that you like, then this is discrimination. My next slide is about personal experience. Let me share my experience and observation from childhood days. As a very young child, whenever I would visit my granny's place, there was a borewell and a hand pump. I would see people living in smaller huts. Even though they wouldn't have water, they wouldn't come to my granny's place to take water. I asked my granny one day, Granny, why do they take a bucket, a pail, and walk miles and get water for themselves? Why can't they come here and have it? My granny said, because they are lower class people. They are lower caste. They can't come. They can't come and touch our hand pump. And I said, if they touch, what will happen? Oh, no, 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 no. Please don't even talk about that. Don't even think about that, she said. As a young child, I didn't understand why everyone can't have water from the same hand pump. And then there was a well close to my granny's place, my paternal granny's place. And then I thought there was a well wherein only the people from my family, my relatives, only they would draw water from there, and others would again go to far distance to get water. Those were the days. when government had not made rules that this kind of discrimination is not allowed and it persisted in the society. Even education, girls wouldn't go to school, boys would go to school. I would ask my aunts, why don't you go to school? Why only uncles go to school? They say, because we are girls. We are at home. We just have to cook food, right? Why is education required in this? What will education do to me? I'm learning what is required from my mother. So these are the kind of discriminations that I have seen in the past while I was growing up and whenever I would visit my granny's places, both my maternal granny and my paternal granny. So, what are the types of discrimination I would like to discuss in my next slide? Number one is based on gender. I already told you that I have seen in the past, now we don't have that. All boys and girls do go to school, they are getting equal opportunity. But at the same time, when I say equal opportunity, all the boys and girls are getting, am I talking only about myself? Am I talking only about the cities? What about the people, those who are living in tribal areas? Are they getting equal opportunities? Is there no discrimination in the name of gender? That is what I keep pondering upon. Then the second one is caste based. In many countries, there are reservations made for different caste and tribe. In the very beginning, when the constitution came into being, the constitution makers thought that since the lower caste people have been suppressed for a longer period of time, there should be reservation made for them so that they come and become a part of the mainstream society. Now, what did it do? It increased the mental gap between the caste. Third is on the name of religion. We can see across the world, people are fighting in the name of religion. There are wars. There are so many groups which are based on religion, color, disability. When we talk about disability, this is one kind of discrimination that is prevalent across the world. Whenever a person sees someone is disabled, they don't appoint them for a particular job. Shouldn't they be given chance? Language and economic background are also the major causes of discrimination. Actually, we live in a world that is divided into two parts, the haves and the haves not, the rich and the poor. As much as we say that we don't discriminate in the name of economic background, I don't think it's true across the world. Now, what are the effects of discrimination? This is what I'm going to talk about in my next slide. The people who suffer discrimination, they get very low self esteem. As an educator, I have seen, I have observed, even in the children. Suppose a child is fat, people make fun of him. Suppose a child is thin, they make fun of him. A child is dark, people make fun of him. A child is very fair, they make fun of him. That leads, this low self esteem leads to mental stress also. They're always stressed out, they are worried. about their looks. They are worried about what people say. They are worried about what people think. Violence is also the effect of discrimination. We can see across the world there is violence. As Dr. Nikki said in the very beginning of the session today, that the world is going through an extremely terrible phase, and we have to stop this. Social division is also the effect of discrimination, and lost talent and opportunities. Now, this is the saddest thing of lost talent and opportunities, wherein simply because you are not from a particular tribe, you are not from a particular society, because you have less amount of influence, you are not given the opportunities. So these are the effects of discrimination. My next slide talks about why zero discrimination matters. Why do we need it? Why should the world be a place where there is no discrimination at all? And number one is what global peace always talks about: it builds peace. Peace is one thing, the most important thing that the entire world needs. So it is not for one country getting into war. I don't want to name any country here. So it's not that you are directly in war or indirectly in war or proxy war going on. It doesn't matter. But we need to build peace. That is what zero discrimination does. It promotes unity. We are one family. The entire world is one family. India has always believed in Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam. The entire world is one family. So only if there is zero discrimination, it can be felt from within that yes, we are united. It encourages talent. You know, if you are talented and there is no discrimination around, you will go ahead in life. Any person who is talented should be given a chance to move ahead, irrespective of his caste, creed, religion, language. And it will create fair opportunities for everyone. And if fair opportunity for everyone is created in the world, it will strengthen the society across the globe. My next slide is about discrimination in daily life. Now, when we talk about discrimination in daily life, there are small, small things. Probably we feel like, we do it for fun. We think it is like just a joke, in a jocular way, just in a jest. But that is not right. And first of all is name calling. Now, what is name calling? Somebody's name is Jennifer. You say, Jay, come here. Okay, just a simple example. Or someone is fat, Moti Aja. This is not cool. We have to understand that. Name calling is not cool. You can't decide. Everybody has been given a name, and a name is their identity. So, can we just respect that? Second is bullying. Bullying. Now, we have got cyberbullying too. Earlier, it was only physical bullying, mental bullying, psychological bullying. Now we have cyberbullying. So even on social medias, you see somebody's post and you write the comments that are disrespectful. We can't do that. You have no right to do that. Ignoring others. Now, somebody is a friend of yours and you get another friend, you are ignoring that person. Somebody has feelings for you, somebody is nice and kind to you, and you ignore it. That is what many of us do. Judging by appearance. Someone who is good looking, you think that person is very good, and you make friends with such people. You give them opportunities. And someone who is not good looking, what will happen to them? They will get low self esteem. Excluding classmates. Now, what happens here is early morning when a child comes to a class and sits next to another child, and that child does not allow him to participate in the conversation, does not allow him to have tiffin with him, does not allow him to play with him during the break time. All these things brings low self-esteem in the children. My next slide is about equality versus equity. Now, what is equality? Same opportunities for all. And what is equity? Fair opportunities based on need. Now, fairness creates real equality. So, we have to ensure that we are fair. Our treatment is fair for each and everyone around the people working with us, our friends, our family members. And I believe it has to begin from family first. And then it has to reach the schools. Only if parents could sit with their children, sensitize them towards equality, towards fairness, towards kindness, probably the children can carry it forward. Now, what is the role of youth in this? Youth should speak against injustice. As Ms. Rose Oba had already put the question, what happens if we don't speak against injustice? What happens if we are silent? Now, if we are silent, it means I am okay with injustice. Now, if you are okay with injustice, how will we get justice? Who will give you justice and why? So, that is the first step. You say, no, I'm not okay, and speak against injustice. Then support the victims. If someone is going through a hard time, a rough patch, support that person. Be inclusive. So if you are healthy, you are fair, you are tall, you are working, you are earning, and there is someone who isn't, someone around you who needs help, someone who is lacking in something, try to make that person also very comfortable. Spread awareness. We have to spread awareness in our family, in our society, and in our country, and then in entire world. Practice kindness. Kindness is something that you don't have to pay for, like you don't have to spend money. We all can be kind, right? Yes. Schools need to focus on practicing kindness, right, Dr. Nikki? And this has to begin from schools. Schools have a big role to play. Teach children to be kind, to be nice, to be generous. In my school, I'll tell you, Dr. Nikki, my school is Dr. S. Radhakrishnan International School, Malad, Mumbai. And we have so many children with learning disability, LD children, and they need help for writing their papers for exams. So, what my school has done is that when these children go to write their board papers, we provide them with writers. So, then grade 9 children write the papers for grade 10 children. My school has instituted an award for the children, those who write papers. So, the award of sensitivity. Because of this, what happens is that more and more children try to help others. More and more children come forward to write others' papers. More and more children try to help. We have a buddy system in our school wherein, any child who needs help, any child who is new to class, anyone who does not understand a particular subject, say, for example, a child is weak in math or a child is weak in English. So, one who is good at it will sit next to that child and help him throughout. So, yes, schools have a big role to play in practicing kindness and teaching children how to practice kindness. Yeah, my next is role of schools and teachers. This is what I have already spoken about, like inclusive classroom. So, what is inclusive classroom? So, if there is a particular child who is not doing well, we do have children, those who are physically also handicapped. We have children with learning disability. We have children with various other issues. And there are other children, those who become their buddies. So, we have buddy system in our school. So, they get buddies and the buddies help them throughout. And this is how we are spreading sensitivity in the children. Second is stop bullying. So we have a zero bully zone in our school. So bullying is not allowed. Then value diversity. Yes, this is what, like, once they are sensitive, they start valuing diversity and teach empathy and respect. Yes. If the children are not empathetic towards each other, if they are not respectful towards each other, we cannot make this world a better place. And it has to begin in the classroom, it has to begin in the school. So the schools and teachers have a big role to play in this. Yeah. So there are various activities that can be done in the class, in the school. Like, put yourself in my shoes. So, like, teachers can have group discussions, giving some
Miss Min,
topics, going some.
sorry, Miss
Sorry?
Mina, just you have just like 2 minutes to go. Thank you.
Okay, no worries, no worries. So there are group discussions that can be done, and given situations of discrimination, then they can share their feelings and they can suggest solutions. So one thing is for sure, that you can't preach something. You don't tell them do this, do this, do this. Children are not going to do that. So what are you going to do? You give them a situation. You tell them, okay, fine, children, now you tell me, like, this is the situation of discrimination. You tell me, how are you feeling? What is the solution to this problem? And take it from them, brainstorm with them. Let them explore a solution, because the future belongs to them. We won't be there for them forever. They have to take the world forward and they need to find a solution. So, this kind of questions can be discussed. Have you seen discrimination? How did it feel? What can be done? How can you help? So, these questions can be brainstormed with the children so that they start thinking in that way. This is the zero discrimination pledge that I want everyone to take. Of course, you're not going to unmute yourself, but you can just say, I pledge to respect all human beings. I pledge to reject discrimination. I stand for justice. I pledge to promote kindness and equality. I pledge to judge people by character and not other factors. I pledge not by color, caste, gender, or class I'm going to discriminate. And for me, humanity comes first. Thank you. Together we can build a fair, equal, and compassionate world. Thank you so much.
Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. I knew that some good stuff is going to come out from Miss Mina. Thank you so much, Miss Mina. Please, can we give her her flowers? She well deserves it. Thank you so much. I could spend the whole day listening to
Thank
you
you. Thank you.
because some real good stuff came from you, and honestly, you really sealed it up with the pledge. And I think each and every one of us definitely has taken something that is going to shift the dynamics when it comes to going towards a zero discrimination environment, zero discrimination workplace, zero discrimination around wherever you find yourself. So thank you so much, Miss Mina. That has been well captured. It's been an inspiring and thought-provoking time listening to you. Honestly, your work continues to highlight the power of education in shaping a more equal world. Thank you so much. And I'm
Thank
going
you.
to come back hopefully to you, but I know that it's so late over there. And thank you for the sacrifice to really be part of this Zero Discrimination Day. It was really worthwhile listening to you. Thank you so much. Now, as she warms her seat, I've seen loads of beautiful comments that have come in as a result of Miss Mina's presentation, the three questions. that were dropped on the forum, and it's really been mind-blowing reading all your comments. But trust me, I'm going to read every bit of those responses. So thank you so much, and everyone is in love with the pledge from Miss Mina to us all. So please, let's take it seriously, and hopefully we are going to share this insightful presentation from Miss Mina. Thank you. Our next speaker brings a wealth of experience in development and social transformation. So please don't touch that dial. And he is Mr. Tar Kenneth Kusum, and he is a development, education, and community specialist, a non-profit executive with over a decade of experience working with NGOs, community institutions, youth networks, and international partners. He has led and supported initiatives in education, in emergencies, and of course, he has also been able to enhance and also use his expertise to promote sustainable development, youth empowerment, governance, and community media. TAR is passionate about equity, social justice, and inclusive development, and works to promote dignity, opportunity, and positive social transformation across communities. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Mr. Tar Kenneth, and he will be talking to us in the next 10 minutes on the topic From Stigma to Strength, Advancing Equity and Zero Discrimination in Our Communities. Thank you, Mr. Tar Kenneth. The floor is yours. Is Mr. Tar Kenneth
Yes, thank you. Yes, my microphone is muted, unmuted now. Thank you.
perfect? You're good to go.
All right. Thank you for this opportunity. When I was asked to be one of the speakers on this occasion, a lot of things came to my mind. And as somebody who has worked actively with communities, I thought that we should go to the weakest point, which is stigma surrounding this issue of discrimination. And we see how we can transform this issue of stigma to strength. That is why my presentation is titled From Stigma to Strength, Advancing Equity and Zero Discrimination in Our Communities. Yes, a lot of people have brought different ideas about what stigma is all about, what is stigma and so on. But then we just have to understand that stigma is the negative label. The previous speaker already mentioned something about that. The negative label that we place on people based on either gender, their different abilities, their health status, religion, ethnicity, their age, their economic background, or any other identity that we think about. And what we have to note is that stigma isolates, stigma silences, and stigma excludes. Stigma turns differences into barriers. And when stigma becomes normalized, it transforms into discrimination. Unfair treatment that can only limit access to education, employment, healthcare, leadership, and participation in our community is what we call stigma. Therefore, zero discrimination means that we are actually rejecting the system which is propagating and promoting exclusion. So why do we think that zero discrimination really matters? Discrimination is not just a personal issue, it's really a community issue. That is why I really want to focus on the community. When one person is excluded, there's a lot that happens. Talent is wasted. Innovation is lost. Trust is weakened. Development actively slows down. Because to me, what I know from my experience is that communities can only thrive when everyone can contribute. And in this case, equity ensures that individuals are not just treated the same, but are supported according to their needs so they can succeed. Equality gives everyone the same shoes. Equity ensures that the shoes actually fit. Therefore, zero discrimination is not about charity. It's about justice. It's about fairness. It's about unlocking human potential. So what about moving from this stigma to the strength that we expect? Now, this is going to enable us shift our perspective so that we really see that, yes, discrimination has been normalized. If you look at my message I dropped on the group, I mentioned that, discrimination has been normalized because the world has spent time, promoting a lot of discourse and vocabulary that has to go about discrimination. That is one of the main driving force. Because if you want to talk about different forms of races and so on, who brought those vocabularies? Why are they in dictionaries? Why are we having these words all over the place? So, what if the very differences that are stigmatized are actually strengths? For example, a young person from a marginalized background brings a lot of resilience. That is power, that is strength. A person with a disability brings unique problem-solving abilities and skills that no one else will have. Women and girls bring leadership style rooted in serious collaboration. Cultural diversity, of course, brings creativity and innovation. This is not a secret. Our communities are strongest when diversity is embraced and not just suppressed. So moving from stigma to strength requires 3 shifts where we think that everybody can go through to be able to make things get better. The first shift I want to talk about is awareness to action. No matter what we do, it's not just enough to say, I am not discriminatory. We must actively challenge unfair practices and harmful language. That's very important. The second shift, we have to move from sympathy to solidarity. Feeling sorry for someone because they are discriminated is not empowerment. It has nothing to contribute to solving the situation. Standing with them and amplifying their voice is what is very, very important. The third shift is moving from tolerance to inclusion. Tolerance simply means that I will allow you. Even if it's just one opportunity, one chance that is remaining, it is there for you. Take it. I'm giving it over to you. Inclusion means you belong here. No matter what people are saying, this is where you belong. And you deserve to belong here because you were created to belong here. Belonging is really very powerful because it is through belonging that we are able to transform our communities. Taking note of the fact that we have the greatest majority of this world filled with young people who are discriminated in terms of leadership. I take my situation, Africa, I take my situation, Cameroon. Majority of those who are in position of power, decision making, everything in Africa, they are the old generation. The generation, they keep claiming that through independence, they fight for independence, they're able to, break these boundaries, colonial boundaries and whatever. And today they remain in power and they're seen perpetuating the same forms of, discrimination for young people that they claimed the colonialists did, which is really a big problem. So young people are really very important when it comes to this. Young people are not just beneficiaries of equity, they are drivers of change, which is very important. They can influence the status quo through conversations, the social norms that they bring. They are the masters of digital spaces nowadays, so they can use digital spaces to break these barriers, and of course, through their peer behavior. Zero discrimination actually starts with everyday actions that the young people have to take wherever they are. For example, refusing to laugh at a harmful joke, standing up when someone is excluded, using inclusive language, listening before judging, and of course, challenging stereotypes. We have to understand that for the young people, small actions, repeated consistency, reshape culture. Very important. And how do we build equitable communities despite all of this? How do we advance equity practically? The first thing is to create safe spaces. These safe spaces are spaces where people can speak without fear of ridicule or punishment. Secondly, to promote inclusive education. The previous speaker gave very brilliant ideas about how inclusive education is practiced within their school. But we have to understand that inclusive education is education that reflects diverse identities and experiences. Thirdly, we have to ensure fair opportunities, transparent recruitment, leadership access, and decision-making processes are the pillars of fair opportunity. And the fourth is to strengthen community dialogue. How do you organize conversations, in fact, very difficult conversations, and make sure that everybody is involved? Difficult conversations are necessary for good. If we stay quiet about the most difficult things, then we want the difficult things to make our community to turn around towards a negative direction. And of course, we have to hold institutions accountable. This is where the issue of silence is very important. When we are silent, we rather help to normalize these issues. And when we normalize these issues, then finally they become institutionalized. So we have to work to make sure that policies must reflect zero discrimination, be it our small villages. If we have a village meeting, we have a village project we are supposed to do. How do we make sure that everybody is included based on their different abilities? And let us take note that equity is not accidental. Yes, equity is never accidental. It is always intentional. Now, let's look at the economic and social case for zero discrimination. In my message I just dropped there, I said when we are not working towards zero discrimination, we finally have a problem is that in the community, people don't grow the same rate. You might think that you are wealthy enough, but you fail to understand that as the number one, the only rich person in the community, if you empower more members of the community to become richer, your riches multiply in several fold. So the economic and social case for discrimination should let us understand that it is possible for us to grow bigger if we have to empower others. Inclusive communities are stronger economically and even socially. And it's no news that research consistently shows different powers that diversity has. In fact, in terms of improving problem solving, when there's a problem, people come together, they solve the problem. You are alone, you cannot solve that problem. Diversity also increases productivity. Many hands do, in fact, many hands do light work. It also enhances creativity, new ideas coming together to build new ideas. And of course, it also strengthens resilience during crisis. When there's a crisis and we come together with our different talents and abilities, we're able to, to build resilience and get out of the crisis. But discrimination rather divides us, while equity multiplies us. So when everyone participates, the communities will always flourish, whether we like it or not. And I'm coming down to a personal reflection by saying that each of us has experienced exclusion in some form or the other. I won't go sharing my personal stories. Personally, I'm somebody who has gone through a serious situation of going through, challenges, discrimination, and positioning myself where we are. But that is not important. The most important thing we should note is that each of us has the power, at least once, to take ourselves out of this situation or to include someone somewhere so that they don't be the victim of all of these things happening. So the question today is, which side of history do you want to stand on? Will we be passive observers of inequality or the active builders of equality? And to end, on this International Day for Zero Discrimination, I'm challenging all of us to commit to three things, three basic things. We should examine our biases. We have a lot of biases. Sometimes we don't seem to understand them unless maybe an outside person is able to tell us that this is the biases that you have. Secondly, we should speak up when we witness discrimination. Staying silent is the biggest driver of discrimination. Thirdly, we should create spaces where differences can be celebrated because Moving forward from zero stigma to strength begins with individual responsibility and grows through collective action. Zero discrimination, I would say, is not a dream. It's not a dream. It is a decision. And it's a decision that we make every day in our classrooms, in our workplaces, in communities, and even online. So let us imagine a community where no one is ashamed of who they are. No one is denied the opportunity because of their identity. Differences are seen as assets, not threats or liabilities. That is a community I think that we deserve, and that is the future we can build together. Moving from stigma to strength, from exclusion to belonging, and from inequality to equity. That is the future that we can have. And the situation that is happening in the Middle East today does not escalate into a third world war. Thank you very much for your attention.
Oh, thank you so much, Mr. Kenneth. Please, can we give him his well-deserved flowers? It's really been a swell time listening to you. Thank you for those insightful reflections and for emphasizing the importance of transforming stigma into strength and also bringing us realistic situations around it. Thank you so much. And we are hopeful that our attendees and our guests on this particular platform are going to be dropping their feedback so we can be able to have a read through all of them. So thank you so much. As you warm your seat, I'm going to be ushering in the third speaker, and the third speaker is a dynamic advocate for equality and human dignity. And so, ladies and gentlemen, join me in welcoming Ms. Tato Lydia Array. And Tato Lydia Array is an international entrepreneur, humanitarian activist, and promoter dedicated to advancing equality and human dignity. Her work focuses on empowerment, advocacy, and ensuring access to opportunities that support both physical and mental well-being. Today, Ms. Lydia is going to take us through the topic equality. You may find out that equality keeps coming up in all the presentations, and that is because this is one of the major factors why discrimination persists in our society today. So this is definitely something she wants to address. And of course, Miss Lydia is definitely going to take us through this right in the next 10 minutes. So Miss Lydia, if you are listening to me, over to you.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Rose. It's a privilege to be as one of the speakers today for this great event on Zero Discrimination Day. I want to thank our CEO, Dr. Nikki Depina, for this opportunity to push me as one of the speakers. For me to get everything short, I'll go directly to the topic of zero discrimination. My topic is about equality. Equality is that we must respect everybody in the community. We must give respect to everybody, no matter your background, no matter where you are coming from, no matter their class, or no matter your age. We must give respect to everybody. And then when I'm talking based on the theme for this year, people first. The theme is talking about people first. Meaning we have to treat people equally everywhere we go. In everything we do, we have to treat people equally. Anybody you see around you should have that human right, should have that respect, should have that equality, to feel present or should feel important wherever they are. So for the definition, I would say it is the behavior of treating a person or a group partly because they are different from you on the basis of, one, we talk about gender, race, religion, disability, social classes, etc. For example, we talk about the rich, the poor, or maybe you can say this person is beautiful or this person is handsome. You don't treat them equally, it is not good. Or maybe you go to a place, for example, I'll take an example for social class. Let me say, for example, I go to a bank, and then there was a guy who just entered into the bank, and then we were seated there. And then you find the bank manager came and took that guy inside his office and attend to him while we were there, we were seated there. And then secondly, they called me, but there was a lady there, she came before me. And then I refused. I said, no, even this lady came before me, she has to go. So, and I feel happy. And I saw that guilt on the manager's face. So it's like people normally, that discrimination is there. And racism also. Then disability. When it comes to disability, I will always take example to myself. I was working in one NGO in South Africa, IFPAP, people with albinism and blindness. So one day when the lift was bad, I had to assist one blind guy to take him through the staircase. So I held him. To my knowledge, I was holding this guy, so we moved together to take him through the staircase. After we are done, like the guy told me, thank you, that you made me to feel better, and I feel like I'm one of those people in the society. Then I asked him, why do you sound like this? Isn't it just moving through the staircase? He said, no, that's not all. There's that feeling I have when you take me through. Because I said, why? He said, because when others want to take me through the staircase, they'll be holding me as if I am rubbish, I'm nothing. They won't hold me like welcoming me, like because I had to embrace him, hold him. So they will hold him at their hands as if they don't want to even hold him or they don't want to touch. Some won't even help. So I learned my lesson also. So those people in the less privileged people in the community, they need our support. They need our help, which is one of the solutions we must do in zero discrimination concerning people first. And then we're talking about another example, we're talking about family responsibilities. This is very common to us, especially in Africa or in Cameroon. You find it's a huge family and everyone is working. And then you find when it comes to contribution, some people want to give, some people don't want to give. So also it's also discrimination. Or maybe let's take it to me. I'm in my house. I'm a stepmother to some other children, and then you find me favoring my children and then giving the other children who are not my children too much work to do. That is total discrimination. And how do I think these children will feel like, or when they grow up, how are they going to look at me like? And how are my children taking it? They might be happy now, but what will happen of them tomorrow? So that's another discrimination. We don't really look at it, but it starts from our home, from our own house where we stay. We do that discrimination, which is not good. Even between husband and wife, that discrimination is there, etc. So also we have to, when it comes to promoting equality, this is about fairness and inclusivity. That is making everyone feel welcome and valued everywhere they belong. I've put some few examples on that. After that, we go to equality. Equality also talks about fairness also. So in equality, here we have to ensure that everyone gets the same opportunities, in everything. When I say everyone, we have the genders, we have the races, we have the religion. You go to a place where a business is being owned by a Muslim, they can employ a Christian. That is racism on a religion. And also you go, for example, you go to a hospital where you find a doctor will disregard a patient of HIV, and it will instead increase the stigmatization to that person because you want to discriminate. This one is an HIV patient. No, I can't even touch this person. You'll be sending the small notice. You can't people, or you can't talk to that person in a longer time. You will stand in a distance. I experienced that myself. There was a time in Cameroon we had a cholera breakdown, and my stepmother called me, said, "Come, this child, I feel this child is not feeling fine. Come and take this child to the hospital." He went to the toilet, he just came out, and then the way he slept on the bed, he couldn't even just sit, he just fall on the bed. So I rushed with my car over to her place. I picked this child, I rushed to the hospital. There was a hospital where I'm staying in Nimbe. I had to go to the next hospital far away. When I went to that, and then to the next town, because I believe they do care more than my own hospital, the general hospital. So I went there, they told me, no, they don't attend to these cases. They just give that child drips, like 2 drips on his hands directly to wash out those things. So I took him with those drips in my car, rushed to the hospital. They told me I should go fast, he needs more drip. I rushed to the hospital. That child was sitting in my car behind the seat. I called those people, the government hospital, to treat this patient. The guy, one guy was coming, said, "What is the issue?" I said, "It's cholera." The guy just turned around and be going somewhere else. Then they went and called the major. Major is like the nurse, it's like the head of the nurse. She just asked some few people, like, "You just clean this place, they put this child here." They normally send these student nurses. Asked me to go and buy some stuff to disinfect that place. I had to rush to the market. They also don't have those things. I have to leave that child there. I rushed to the market to buy those things, disinfectant, bring it to the hospital to do that. I was busy doing it with those student nurses. These big ones were just looking far away and be talking just like that. I was shocked. I had to buy pampers. They just come and take pampers. Myself, I have to do those things to put that child pampers and the rest. So it was not an easy experience. That is a lot of discrimination. So it is not good when it comes to healthcare. Our healthcare officials, they have to learn how to love patients and treat patients equally. And then when it comes to also, although when it comes to gender and when it comes, like we are going towards Women's Day, you find that most of the jobs that are not paid job, well-paid job, are being occupied by the ladies, and the men, they take majority of the well-paid job, because they say the ladies, they normally take antenatal leave and the rest, which is not fair on the side of the ladies, because they also have responsibility to take in their homes, various homes. Women, they have that anxiety to work. They have that ability to work and willingness to work as any other person. I, for one, I'm a businesswoman. The type of business I'm doing, even a man cannot do it. The type of business I'm doing, because I'm self-employed, even the men, they look at me, they say, "No, you are strong." So what if this business was owned by somebody? I'm saying, yeah, my friend Emily Caroline is there. She can bear me a witness. She knows about my business and what I'm doing. So what if that business was owned by somebody and I came with my CV, I said, I want to apply as a manager to manage this business. Do you think they will employ me? They won't. They won't employ me. Even some of the guys, when I want to employ, even they are failing to do the job. But us, we are left behind. So some of us, I'm happy like to be one of the women leader and I lead with example to other women to take a good example of what is happening to women, not to be weak. And if you as a woman, you are self-employed and you depend on yourself, don't depend on people or don't depend on your husband. It also serves the fact that men don't brutalize women anyhow. Because you have that confidence in yourself, you have your money, you do your stuff without checking on your husband or on some other person, hoping for them to assist you. That's another point that will help some women to avoid this discrimination.
Okay, Miss Lydia, you just have 2 minutes to round off. Thank you.
Okay, then I'll go now to when it comes to schools, the bias we have. Sometimes you go to school, they should give the teachers, you find some classes there for these rich people or the racism on these particular people and the rest, which every school has the right to have the same teacher and the same education. And all the students also have the right to participate in all the activities taking place in schools. I will say also, I don't think it's political. Like in Cameroon, we have French and English. The French is dominating the English, and the English people, they are forced to learn French, while the French are not forced to learn English, which is also a bias when it comes to the part of the government. So to round everything short, I will just summarize the solution. We talk about raising awareness in all the aspects we have in discrimination, promoting empathy, and implementing policies that will also help encourage to remove fears from the heart or the stigma from those who are having HIV, since our topic is on people first. Then we create open opportunity. This is a good example on what we are doing right now. So promoting peace to help tackle discrimination by encouraging and understanding, empathy and respect among individuals and groups, which is a good thing. So I will give an applause to our CEO, Dr. Nikki Depina, for promoting peace through dialogue and communication or events like this on zero discrimination. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Miss Lydia. I love the way your presentation came in, like it now brought in the realistic situation around inequalities. And for me, what actually struck me was how you as a person is trying to shift the narratives. And like you've said we shouldn't be depending on people to do that. We need to come out and actually fight to make sure that the spaces around us is healthy for equality to thrive. So thank you so much. That has been a very powerful and meaningful contribution. And we want to say that from a very standpoint, it summarizes this for me, coming from you to us, that everyone has a right to enjoy and strive for a standard of physical and mental health. And so we are grateful, and that this is a reminder that equality is fundamental to human existence. So thank you so much, Miss Lydia, as you warm your seat, and as we wait to introduce the last speaker, I would like to have a read through of a few of the contributions that came in as a result of the questions I asked. And some, Dr. Nikki said, the cost of silence in the cause of injustice is terrible suffering. We need to be brave to stand for justice. The suffering needs voices. And of course, we also have patients who say silence in the face of injustice means rule of law is weakened, impunity becomes a culture, victims lost their trust in existing systems, continued abuse and violation. That is for sure. And Janine says, why does discrimination still persist today? And she says discrimination persists because many people still see themselves as separate from others. When we act from fear or limited awareness, division grows. Real change begins when we recognize that we are part of one whole, not separate entities competing against each other. That is a great contribution there. And she says, what is the cause of silence in the face of injustice? Silence can allow injustice to continue if it comes from fear or avoidance. So when we say nothing, we may unintentionally accept what is happening, but intentional, thoughtful responses are more powerful than reactive ones. Thank you for that. And of course, we have Taken Morin who says silence exists today in the face of injustice because of fear of consequences, lack of confidence, emotional fatigue. And Jani says, how can we become intentional makers of change? By focusing on what we want to create: peace, fairness, respect, and dignity. What we consistently focus on grows. If we embody the values we wish to see and act from awareness rather than anger, we help build the kind of world we want to live in. And of course, thank you, Honorable Prof, for appreciating. And Sopis Due organization says discrimination still persists because the world has spent time building and validating discourses and vocabulary that promotes discrimination. The cause of silence is normalization of discrimination. We can become intentional by taking small grassroots actions, such as creating awareness about the effects of discrimination in slowing collective growth. And Patience says we can all become agents of lasting change when we start to break silence and speaking out, report abuse, advocate for gender responsive policy reforms, and then stand for what is right even when you are the only one standing. That's a good point. Support survivors and hold instructions to be accountable, empowering ourselves for equal, full, and meaningful participation at the decision-making table. Be part of the change. Be part of the change we want. Dr. Nikki says, a great presentation, Mina. Schools need to focus more on the removal of discrimination. Yes, opportunities for everyone. People should not be judged by positions they hold. Respect is not only for a selected few. Thank you for all your love, your mind-blowing contributions. Caroline says it persists because some corrupt leaders, recommendations from hierarchies, familiarity, and most popular cultural diversity. That's for sure. And Sylvester says, equality means that all people have the same rights, opportunity, status, and access to resources, regardless of their gender, race, age, religion, disability, or social background. And of course, we are moving on to the next. I'll come back to Joseph, of course, who has written something very, very important. I'll take that as one of the last key take-home messages. But then, as Lydia has warmed her seat, our final speaker brings deep expertise in communication and development. And please welcome Francisca Ayong-Yongwe Epos-Nzibine. And just to know a little bit about Francisca, this is her first time being given this opportunity to speak to us at the Global Peace Let's Talk. Mrs. Binsbein is the founder and the Chief Executive Officer of AIDS Development and Health Consultancy Limited, based in the UK. And she is a communication for development specialist. She has extensive experience in using communication as a tool for social change, institutional strengthening, and community empowerment. Her work focuses on addressing systemic inequalities, promoting inclusive policies, and fostering equitable environments where individuals can thrive. She is deeply committed to advancing fairness and inclusion, particularly within professional and workspaces. Now, it will be a privilege to listen to Ms. Zibine present to us on the topic discrimination in the workplace and the way forward. This is a very, very big thing right now, especially with some of us that are found in environments where it can be really challenging, where we work because of race, background, where we are coming from, and social status. So she's going to talk to us on the topic discrimination in the workplace and the way forward. We want to give the floor right now to Mrs. Zibine to actually ignite this conversation around discrimination in the workplace. You're welcome, Ms. Zibine.
Thank you very much, Rose. And thank you, Dr. Nikki and Global Peace Let's Talk, for giving me the opportunity to speak on this very important issue, which affects every facet of our society. Thank you, everyone who has managed to join today. Please take the message of zero discrimination back to your various organizations and platforms and be part of that change that we badly need. Now, our discussion is going to focus on workplace discrimination. So if we are here today, we are part of something. We are part of an outfit, a development outfit. We run our own businesses, like the former speaker said. We are part of organizations. We are employees or employers in one way or the other. And we have experienced discrimination in one way or the other. I haven't met anybody who says they haven't experienced discrimination. So now, what is workplace discrimination? Workplace discrimination is the unfair or unequal treatment of an employee or job applicant based on personal characteristics that are protected by law rather than other skills, qualifications, or performance. The characteristics can include race, gender, age, religion, disability, sexual orientation, or national origin. And such treatment may occur in hiring, promotions, pay, job, assignments, training, or termination. In the United States, for instance, laws enforced by the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission help protect individuals from this type of discrimination. And I'm sure in other countries, they have different laws that protect people from discrimination. However, the story is different when it comes to real practice because these laws don't protect us, do they? Workplace discrimination can create a hostile work environment, reduce employee morale, and negatively impact both individuals and organizations, making it essential for employers to promote fairness, diversity, inclusion in the workplace. I don't know about you, but I feel miserable when I experience discrimination at work. I don't enjoy going to work. I hate talking about it, which is such a shame because as we all should be able to talk about our work and enjoy discussing what we do for a living. I'm going to go to slide 3 and 4, which talks about the various types of discrimination. And Dr. Mina and the other speakers already spoke about the various types of discrimination, so I'm not going to dwell a lot on that. But I'm going to just tell you how race can play out when it comes to discrimination. It's a bias of or unequal treatment based on skin color, ethnicity, and origin. Gender, the unfair treatment of or stereotyping link to someone's sex or gender identity. Age, the prejudice and exclusion based on age, especially towards young or older workers. Disability, the disadvantage due to physical or mental sensory impairments. It does not matter what sort of discrimination you're experiencing. The fact is, it should not happen in the first place. It should never happen. So we're going to go to slide 5. Yeah, we're going to go to, so workplace discrimination remains a very significant issue worldwide, affecting millions of employees across industries. Studies show that a notable percentage of workers report experiencing or witnessing discrimination based on race, gender, age, disability, or other protected characteristics. For example, surveys conducted by the Employment Opportunity Commission in the United States indicate that thousands of complaints are filed each year, with many more cases likely unreported due to the fear of retaliation or lack of awareness. I don't know about you guys, but have you ever been in a position where you are discriminated upon, but you have so much fear to talk about it because you think you're going to lose your job? It happens all the time. You know it's happening, but you cannot talk about it. How bad is that? Discrimination can both be overt, like biased hiring or hiring or unequal pay, and subtle, such as exclusive from when they exclude you from opportunities or unfair evaluation. These patterns highlight that despite legal protection, workplace discrimination is still common and underscores the need for proactive measures, training, and inclusive policies. So laws and policies and procedures don't protect us from discrimination, but that shouldn't stop us from talking about it. Every single organization, if you go to their policies, they have different things. In the NHS, for instance, there's something called Speak Up Champion. These are people that have been placed in the NHS so that staff members can go freely to them and talk about the things that happen in their workplace. But what matters really to employees is these things that you talk about, are they actioned? Do people really care about them? Do they bring them forward? Or they are just there as a tick box exercise? That's a food for thought. Does that happen in your organizations as well? Do you have the fear in you when you decide to talk about something that you've seen happen, or any discrimination that you've seen happen to your colleague or your friend? So I'm going to go down to slide 6. So slide 6, workplace discrimination has wide-ranging negative effects on both employees and organizations. For individuals, it can lead to decreased mental health, increased stress, and lower job satisfaction, which in turn affects overall well-being and engagement. For businesses, discrimination often results in reduced productivity, higher absenteeism, and increased employee turnover, which raises hiring and training costs. Additionally, a workplace perceived as unfair or hostile can damage the organization's reputation, making it harder to attract and retain top talent. Addressing discrimination proactively not only supports employees' well-being, but also strengthens organizations' performance and culture. So what I'll say to you today is, please support your colleagues, friends, when they feel discriminated upon. Signpost them to the right help if you are aware of places or people they can go to for help. Let's go down to slide 7. So there's a statement here that is from the Harvard Business Review that was conducted in 2021. It just simply says, discrimination is not only a matter of social justice, it is an obstacle for organizational performance and growth. This statement highlights that discrimination goes beyond ethical concerns and directly impacts how well an organization performs and grows. When discrimination exists, it creates barriers that limit employees' full potential, reduce collaboration, and stifles innovation. Organizations that fail to address discrimination risk losing valuable talent, facing legal challenges, and damaging their reputation, all of which hinder growth opportunities. Embracing diversity and inclusion not only promotes fairness, but also drives better decision-making, creativity, and overall business success. Therefore, tackling discrimination is essential for both social responsibility, stability, sustainable organization development. Slides 8 and 9. So it just goes without saying. So we have individuals at the workplace that are discriminated upon just simply because they don't look the shade of the color that a particular person likes. Some just because of their gender, and some just simply because of their age. And interestingly, all these things are just the natural things. They're just natural causes of life. We are young, we grow old, we are black or white. These are not things that we brought upon ourselves. That's just how we are made. So to be discriminated upon just because you look a certain type of color is just a shame, because there's nothing that individual can do about it. Let's go down to slide 10. So preventing workplace discrimination starts with adopting clear, well-communicated anti-discrimination policies that set expectations for behavior and consequences for violation. Regular training for managers and staff is crucial to raise awareness of unconscious biases and teach inclusive practices. Transparent hiring and promoting processes that help ensure decisions are based on merit, reduces opportunities for unfair treatment. Additionally, creating safe and accessible channels for reporting discrimination, including whistleblowing mechanisms, encourages employees to speak up without fear of retaliation, enabling organizations to address issues early and maintain a respectful workplace environment. I know that in the UK, we have whistleblowing is something that is very, very much protected in most organizations. You have the right to speak up if you think that there's an injustice going on in your organization. And most of the time, like I know, you are protected because so that's why when it comes to speaking up, never, even if you speak up and you're the only one who speaks up for an injustice, do it. So we go down to slide 11. Additionally, addressing discrimination in the workplace requires a combination of proactive and responsive strategies. Organizations should start by fostering an inclusive culture that values diversity and encourages open dialogue. This includes conducting regular bias and sensitivity training, implementing fair policies consistently, and ensuring leadership commitment to diversity goals. When discrimination occurs, it's important to have clear procedures for investigating and resolving complaints promptly and fairly, providing support to affected employees, and using feedback to improve practices that can help rebuild trust. By continuously evaluating and refining these efforts, organizations can create a safer, more equitable environment where all employees feel respected and empowered. Let's go down to slide 12. Leadership plays a critical role in addressing workplace discrimination by setting the tone for the entire organization. When leaders actively demonstrate a commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion, it sends a powerful message that discrimination will not be tolerated. Effective leadership or leaders model respectful behavior, hold themselves and others accountable, and ensure policies are enforced fairly. They also create an environment where employees feel safe to voice concerns and contribute ideas. By prioritizing inclusive leadership, organizations can drive meaningful cultural change, improve employee morale, and enhance overall performance. Slide 13. So performance commitment. So leadership commitment is the cornerstone for building an equitable workplace because leaders shape organizational values, culture, and priorities. When leaders genuinely prioritize equity, they allocate resources, influence policies and inspire behaviors that promote fairness and inclusion. Their visible dedication encourages employees at all levels to follow suit and creates accountability for addressing discrimination and bias. Without strong leadership commitment, efforts to foster equity often fall short or become symbolic rather than transformational. Therefore, leadership engagement is essential to drive sustainable change and ensure that equity becomes embedded in everyday practices of the organization. And last but not the least, despite ongoing efforts, challenges like unconscious bias remain deeply ingrained and can be difficult to eliminate fully. Even with regular training, the rise of remote work introduces new risks and biases, such as less visibility into team dynamics and potential isolation, which can make discrimination harder to detect and address. To move forward, organizations must prioritize continuous measures or measurements and transparency to understand where gaps persist and hold themselves accountable. Additionally, equity initiatives needs to evolve alongside changing social realities and workplace trends to remain effective and relevant in promoting truly inclusive workplaces. To end this conversation, I'll say this. We talk about zero discrimination, but it continues to be rife in our workplaces. But the good news is that we are not going to stop talking about it every chance we get. And remember this, silence protects the bully. Silence protects the bully. Thank you very much for listening.
Wow, this is really mind-blowing. Silence protects the bully. Let's take this and actually work on it. Silence protects the bully. Remember when we asked the question about the cost of silence in promoting injustice. So remember, when you are silent, it means that you're actually validating what the bully is doing on the victim. So let's speak up when we find injustice, whether it be the family setting, the community setting, the workplace setting. This is very, very important in terms of making sure that we bring discrimination to a zero level. Thank you, Ms. Sabine, for those practical and solution-oriented insights on tackling discrimination within the workplace. I think if we listen to her, she actually brought in some really practical insights when it comes to discrimination in the workplace. I'm sure most of all that have listened to her are workers in different organizations and working maybe under somebody. We may face far little consequences when we are self-employed, like Lydia, but then if we are working under somebody, I'm sure some of us or most of us have been discriminated in one way or the other on the basis of our racial background, our sex, our age, and social status. So somebody wants to know where you come from before they give you the respect and the opportunities that are available. And someone equally wants to see how much of or how far you have come in order to see how they should treat you or to give you openings for further growth and career development. So we need to start looking at these vices and looking at a solution-oriented aspect of it, which is definitely really important for us to start considering. And please, if you feel inspired, keep sharing your experiences around the workplace, discrimination aspects, so that a lot of us can be able to learn from some of the things that are happening around us. And many of us just keep silent and validating the work of perpetrators. And just to indicate that we are gradually getting towards the end of these events, and we are so blessed that we keep having close to 30 members attending this particular event of today, which we are grateful for that. And just to read a few more comments that have come in, and I begin with that of Joseph Akinola, who is the brand executive of Global Peace Let's Talk. And he says, dear distinguished friends, today as we commemorate the International Day of Zero Discrimination, we join a global community in reaffirming a simple but powerful principle. Every human being deserves dignity, equality, and respect without exception. Established and championed by UN AIDS, this day reminds us that discrimination, whether based on gender, age, disability, ethnicity, health status, religion, or socioeconomic background, remains one of the greatest barriers to justice, development, and public health. It fuels inequality, limits access to opportunities, and weakens the social fabric of our communities. As Global Peace Let's Talk executives, we recognize that leadership carries responsibility. Zero discrimination is not merely a slogan, it is a governance standard. It demands inclusive policies, equitable access to services, transparent systems, and a culture that values diversity as a strength rather than a threat. In our institutions and in our spheres of influence, this is what Joseph, through the Global Peace Let's Talk, is advocating for all of us to do. We should promote fairness in decision-making processes, protect the rights and voices of vulnerable populations, ensure that no one is denied of opportunities because of who they are or where they come from, foster environments where diversity drives innovation and sustainable growth. So zero discrimination is foundation to achieving the foundational aspects of achieving the broader goals outlined in the United Nations Sustainable Development Agenda, particularly the commitment to leave no one behind. Today, let this not be as a symbolic observance, but a strategic commitment. So let us move from awareness to action, from policy to practice, and from intention to measurable impact. Together, we can build institutions and societies where equality is not aspirational but operational. Thank you so very much, Joseph. And for Dr. Nikki, she says, we greatly value and appreciate your participation in our Zooms. Being here helps us to have a strong support for the issues that need a voice. Add your comments, and she's employed us, and I'm so grateful many of us are dropping our feedback. Thank you, Tina, and thank you for acknowledging the experts we have on today. And she says, GPLT, thank you for leading by example. And Sylvester, in commenting on the last presentation, discrimination in the workplace, sharing his experience, he says workplace discrimination is caused from weak institutional policies, cultural norms and power imbalances, poor enforcement of labor laws, prejudice, and stereotypes, lack of awareness, diversity. In many contexts, discrimination is structural rather than just individual. And he goes on to say that it is abundantly clear that workplace discrimination undermines productivity, violates human rights, and weakens social cohesion. Addressing it requires legal enforcement, institutional reforms, leadership commitment, and cultural transformation. Thank you, Maureen, who says discrimination is a plague that affects productivity in the workplace. And Dr. Nikki says, well done, Francisca, an HRO champion of note. When you don't speak, thank you, Dr. Nikki, for that positive comment there to Francisca. And Maureen adds that when you don't speak up against discrimination, you protect the bully. Thank you for supporting that from Mrs. Zibine. And of course, Sopizu says silence protects the bully indeed. So great presentation from Mrs. Zibine. Thank you, Take Maureen. And of course, Obizu says, thank you for this presentation, Maureen. The presentation was great. Thank you for this great piece from Mrs. Zibine. It was it was a much educative moment. Thank you, Kennedy. And of course, from Tina Jones, psychological safety is imperative in the workplace. Excellent presentations. Thank you for the positive feedback. And Sylvester says, if silence protects the bully, then promote equity, not just equality. And of course, Benga says, this is inspiring and very educative. Thank you all, our speakers who passionately spoke on this topic. And of course, he says, at some point, he says, there are so many contributions. Okay, he says, congratulations to every one of us. We must speak up against it and become ambassadors in our various communities. Lewis, thank you so much for joining. And he said a question. An employee and victim of persistent verbal and racial discrimination once said, and this is for Francisca to ask to provide us an answer in a bit. And Lewis says, he is done with always being a victim. He will always start to retaliate with same and maybe severe discrimination towards perpetrators because they are seeing his victim position as weaknesses. Is that considered as self-defense? So maybe, Francisca, you may have to respond to that. So if you can just kindly check Lewis's comment and have a read while I continue with the others, and I'll come back to that. And Kum Florence says, good evening to all. I am Kum Florence from Resource Mobilization and an officer at Rural Women's Action for Sustainability in Cameroon. I want to applaud all the speakers for the Power Pact presentation. A suggestion relating to the last presentation, more training should be organized where CEOs, employers are trained on how to manage the workplace without discrimination. Thank you very much for that recommendation there, Florence. And Janet says, thank you, Dr. Nikki and GPLT. Wonderful discussion. And of course, we also have other positive feedbacks from Jude, who says, brilliant speech from Fran. And of course, Patience says, thanks for the wonderful presentation and thanks to the entire team behind this wonderful presentation. And thank you, the Oracle himself and Joan, for applauding our guest speakers for the wonderful presentation. Now, coming back to Francisca, Lewis, just this one last question and then we'll wrap it up all for today. And I come again, he says, a question. An employee and victim of persistent verbal and racial discrimination once said, he is done with always being a victim. He will start to retaliate with same and maybe severe discrimination towards perpetrators because they are seeing his victim position as a weakness. Is that considered a self-defense? Can we hear from you, Ms. Zibine?
Thank you for that question, Lewis. Well, I didn't quite see it as a question. I think it was a statement. What I'll say is nobody's a victim. Nobody should play a victim. You are, by right, you are supposed to be where you are. You are employed just like your colleagues are. So if there's something happening to you that is not happening to your colleagues and that is negative, you have to speak up. By speaking up doesn't make you a victim. Speaking up makes you powerful. That's a very powerful position to find yourself in. If you stay quiet, that's when you become the victim. So speak up. That gives you strength. Because like I said, if you stay quiet, you're protecting somebody and that person is the bully. Don't do it. Just speak up.
Wonderful one there. Just speak up. Don't be silent. Don't even fight back in a way that actually would give a validation for the perpetrator to keep doing more evil. Just speak up and using the right channels like she explained in her presentation. And definitely somebody at some particular designated place is going to hear and take action, because silence in the face of injustice only gives more leverage to the perpetrator to keep doing what they're doing on victims. So speak up and don't allow the bully to keep validating their evil acts. Now we're going to be moving close to the end of this event, but before we go towards the end of it all, we would love to capture this special moment. So please, I want to implore all of us to kindly turn our cameras on for a group photograph, and let this image reflect our shared commitment to unity and inclusion. So please kindly activate your cameras at this point so that our technical expert in the house, Joseph, can actually take a souvenir picture for all of us to actually have it like a symbol of our shared commitment towards a zero discrimination environment, community, and workplace. So Joseph, as he does this exercise, we're going to just leave your camera on because we're going to be going towards the end, but then let me share this, that as we conclude today's dialogue, let us carry forward these great truths that have emanated from the presentations of today. The first thing is that equality is essential. It's not optional. And the second thing is silence sustains discrimination, but action dismantles it. And the third thing is each of us has a role in creative, inclusive communities wherever we find ourselves. And of course, before we invite Dr. Nikki with brief words as closing remarks, we are pleased to invite you to our next upcoming event, which is the International Women's Day, coming up on the 8th of March. And join us as we continue to celebrate achievements and amplify voices and advocate for gender equality. Now, to formally close this very impactful session, I now invite the founder and the CEO of the Global Peace Let's Talk, a global award-winning peace advocate and champion, Dr. Nikki DePina, to deliver the closing remarks.
Thank you, Rosalind. So I can't put my video on because there's something wrong. It's gone of funny colors. So excuse me for that. But congratulations, Rosalind. And I am just continuously so proud of your achievement and your focus and your dedication to making these discussions so successful. It's a team effort in Global Peace Let's Talk. Rosalind is executive of public relations, and I can promise you now that she is just an incredible go-getter. She likes things to run extremely well. So I'd like all of you to please also share flowers for Rosalind and her team for their effort, because it really is greatly appreciated. And then to the speakers, you have been amazing today. Each one of you have come with a different perspective. And if we round that all up into one, there has been so much learning and opportunities for everybody present to go and introduce even one thing that you learned today. There were so many lessons, and we're not going to forget these lessons. We're going to find a way to share all of them with our members. And please, if you're not yet a member of Global Peace Let's Talk, you're more than welcome to join. So to close, my respect and appreciation to all of the speakers, and much love and appreciation to each and every one that attended today. So please, flowers for Rosalind. Rosalind, thank you so much. You and the whole team are awesome. Well done. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you so very much, our dear role model, Dr. Nikki DePina, for those kind words. Your push and your mentorship can never go unnoticed or undermined, because you're the one that keeps encouraging us and pushing us to keep the flame burning for peace, for inclusion, and for nonviolence in this global world. And of course, before we wrap up, we have some key contributions here from the Oracle himself, which of course he's reiterated some key components of discrimination, which we have already had a couple more, and some of them he highlights, of course, on equal access, of course, and other aspects of less favorable treatment. And of course, Subhis says, thank you all. It was a great session. So much to learn, so much to contribute. And of course, we want to thank you for the partnership all the time. And so I use this opportunity to thank you, Dr. Nikki DePina, for hosting us at the Global Peace Let's Talk for this event of today and always. And of course, I also want to equally thank you all, our incredible speakers, for all you've done to give us something to be ticking in our minds in terms of our contributions, our individual and collective contributions towards a zero discrimination environment or community. And to all our participants, we say thank you for your presence and contributions. Let us live here not just inspired, but committed to action. And on behalf of the Global Peace Let's Talk International UK, we thank you all. And of course, I will not forget to mention some of our great technical team members, Joseph Akinola, and of course, Norman Zaki, Insha Mustafa, and of course, Didan, for making sure that this event goes through very successfully. And on behalf of the Global Peace Let's Talk again, this session is now officially concluded. Thank you all so much. And we have now come to the end of this event. So you can unmute your microphone and you say bye-bye to each and every one. And please go back and make sure that you don't be that silent one.
Thank you. Bye. Nice to see you all.
Bye-bye to everyone.
Bye. Bye-bye. 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 Thank you, Dr. Nikki. Thank you so much, Rosalind.
Bye to you all. It was really wonderful. We are so blessed.
Thank you, our presenters. Joseph, thank you so much. Yeah.
Yes,